Just to show how factoring and multiplying are related, we're going to factor this polynomial, and then we're going to take our answer and we're going to multiply it back through to see what's going to happen. So in the last video, I showed you how to multiply or how to factor using the AC method, where we look at the number in front of x squared, that's our a value, the number in front of x is our b, and the number without a variable is our c value. So if we get started with our factoring, we do our a times c. You don't have to label it every time like we did in the last video. Once you get a lot better at it, you'll know that this is your a, this is your b, and this is your c. So I know my a times my c is going to get me 30. And I need two numbers that multiply to get 30 because we're multiplying, but it needs to add to get this middle number. So I need to add to get that negative 11. So I got to start thinking about all the different numbers that multiply to get 30. And I know there's 3 and 10, but that cannot add or subtract in any way to get 11. So that's not going to work. There's also 6 and 5. 6 and 5 can add to get positive 11, so this could work. We're on to something now. The only thing is I need to add them so that we get a negative 11. The only other thing I can think of is if we're multiplying two numbers to get a positive, they can either both be positive or both be negative. So when I multiply those together, I get a positive 30, and when I add them, I end up getting a negative 11. I want you to notice how even though I knew 3 and 10 didn't work, I still wrote it down anyways. Anytime you get a bigger number, you're going to want to write down all the different factors you think of. That way you know if you've already thought of it, you can organize your work, organize your thoughts, and make sure that you're not repeating the same numbers over again. So what we're doing here, we're going to set up our parentheses. We're going to split apart this x squared into x and x. And then we're going to put these numbers inside our parentheses. So we have x minus 6, x minus 5 is our final answer. So in green, we're going to check our work. What we're going to do is we're going to take our answer, we're going to multiply them together. So we have x minus 6, we're multiplying that to x minus 5. And there's a few different ways to look at it. Obviously, we can distribute, and that's what we're going to have to do. And we know we're going to have to distribute because there are minus signs in here. One way you can look at it is distributing just this x first to everything that's inside the next set of parentheses. That gets you x times x minus 5. Then you're taking this negative 6, and you're distributing it to everything inside the parentheses. That gets you negative 6 times x minus 5. So you can rewrite it this way, but you don't have to. At the end of the day, you're still going to get the same thing. That's x squared minus 5x minus 6x plus 30. So just to show you how I did that, we did x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And negative 6 times negative 5 is positive 30. We got to add our like terms, and those like terms are going to add up to get negative 11. So we did this initial problem correctly. I'm going to put a big old check next to it. And I know we did this correctly because when we took our answer and we multiplied everything back through, we ended up with the original question. So we ended up with the same thing here and here. And that's the goal. So factoring is opposite of multiplying. And I know that typically you talk about how multiplying and dividing are opposite, but think about it. In a sense here, you are dividing. You're figuring out what divides into this. Technically, x minus 6 and x minus 5 divide into this whole polynomial. You're just figuring out what exactly is it that we're dividing into it in order for it to divide evenly. Then in order to check it, you can go back, multiply everything all the way through. Notice how our middle terms over here, when we checked our answer, is the same thing as the terms we found here. It will be like that every time. And as we get through more advanced problems, I can show you another example of how this works.